Look, I'm not going to waste any of your time in this video. What you have to understand is your actions have consequences. Because there's this narrative of clinical depression, and sure, it's an actual disease. What you should understand is there's a reason for it. You're not just afflicted with depression because of random chance. Something you do actually causes it. Now, of course, I'm not talking about things that are out of your control. Like, of course, everyone is dealt a different hand in life, and some people have trauma and other things like that. But still, these are external things. And the thing is with depression is it's an internal state. Some people actually have very difficult external lives, like maybe they're poor or they're broke or they're going hungry or whatever else, but internally they're still good. So think about this. If people have a worse life than you externally, but they still feel good inside and they're not suffering the way that you might be suffering with depression, then clearly it's not a problem with the external. Look, this is something a lot of people don't want to hear, but one of the biggest causes of depression, whether it be long-term or short-term, is committing sins. Now, the reason why a lot of people don't like this is because it's completely up to you. It's up to you whether you commit sins or you don't commit sins, meaning it's completely your fault if you're depressed or if you're not depressed. Now, of course, I'm not saying this is every single scenario. Maybe you're committing a sin or you're addicted to a sin, which is why you're depressed. But I'm telling you, in a lot of scenarios, I would even say the majority, it's because of sins. The reason why is because sins have a very profound effect on you. They actually blacken your heart and make you feel like you lose your identity in a way. So you'll very commonly see people who are addicted to a sin or addicted to a certain type of sin. These people are usually depressed ones. And the thing is, sins don't just cause depression. In fact, they cause a lot of other things. For example, lack of provision. This means if you're committing sins and you're maybe addicted to a sin, it's actually affecting the amount of money you make or the amount of provision you get. And that's a crazy thing to think about, but it's also kind of empowering because now it's all in your control. It's in your control whether you are depressed or you have bad provision, because at the end of the day, all of it comes from Allah. So if you please Allah, then Allah will be pleased with you. This means financially, this means in terms of your provision, this means everything in life, and especially the way you feel. And the thing is, to an extent, even permissible things can lead to this, specifically an addiction to permissible things. So for example, if you're scrolling on your phone and not even seeing anything haram, but if you're scrolling for like 6-7 hours a day, you're going to really feel distant from yourself and from Allah. And this actually gets into the main cause of depression, which is simply lacking identity. People who suffer from depression don't have an identity, which basically means they don't have a purpose in life. They don't have a reason to live, and that's why, unfortunately, depressed people are the ones who commit suicide and all of these other bad things. May Allah protect us. But at the end of the day, it's because they lack a purpose and they lack identity. Now, Allah in the Quran tells us our purpose. Our purpose is to worship only Him. So if you're depressed and you feel like you're lacking purpose, it's because your life is not aligned with Allah. It's not aligned with the purpose that Allah set you out for. And also just think about it, right? Being a Muslim, and specifically being a mu'min, a true believer, is one of the strongest forms of identity you could have. Like, it's hard to imagine someone who's a very strong Muslim, someone who's a mu'min, someone who's really strong in that identity to be depressed or suffer from any of those spiritual conditions. And what's interesting to note is that sins have this effect where they kind of make you lose sight of yourself. People will say, for example, that they might look in the mirror and they don't even recognize themselves. And this is the effect that addictions and sins have on you. This basically means a loss of identity. And of course, losing your identity is what creates depression. Now, on top of that, it gives you a sense of alienation, not only from your Lord, from Allah, but also from other people. In fact, one of the Salaf used to say that if I disobey Allah, I see it in the attitude of my riding beast and my wife. This literally means that the sins you do have an effect on the way other people perceive you. And not only that, but you'll also have lower self-esteem. All of these things tied to the fact that committing sins destroy your identity and destroy your purpose. But a person who is firm in his identity as being a Muslim, and a person who's firm in his purpose of worshiping Allah, he's not going to have these problems, and therefore he's not going to suffer from depression. So the biggest thing you could do is be firm on your purpose. If you're a real Muslim and you're worshiping Allah the way you should be, and not only that, but you're working on yourself in every single realm of your life, you're inshallah not going to suffer from depression. Now look, just a disclaimer, this is not true with every single case of depression. Of course, there's other things, but I'm saying in general, in most cases, this is the problem. And you have to understand that your actions have consequences, and there's a reason why you might be feeling a certain way. If you just swallow your ego and just try and look at your life critically and ask, why am I feeling certain ways, or why do I not feel as successful as I should be, then you'll realize that it's because of your own action. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Don't forget to not stop making dua to Allah. Check out Clean Islamic Streetwear in the description. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.